Wherever you are in the world, thank you and welcome to Chris Average. Average History. Edmund Wilson notes, since the Paris Commune of 1871, two distinct histories are written and rarely overlap. One story marks the establishment history, the second, a people's history. The 3-year terror of Robespierre is taught in schools. The terror of Thiers, with over twice the body count, is almost unknown. Everyone knows the Cuban Missile Crisis, where Cuba became the laboratory to experiment with theories of mutually assured destruction. Hollywood movies, rightly so, are made about these 13 days. Almost no one in the West, especially in the United States, knows anything about the heroic role Cuba played in the liberation movements of Southern Africa. That Cuba helped liberate Angola, Namibia, and end apartheid in South Africa belongs to that second history. Cuba's two modern heroes, Castro and Che, revolutionary romantics, forged a destiny entwined yet beyond the Cold War. No other people stood as heroic and unique, living outside the main current of modern history, than the Cubans. Daring to live differently, daring to live defiantly, 90 miles from the global hegemon. This average history focuses on a single chapter of that Cuban experience, the story of Operation Carlota, an international action named for a sugar plantation slave who gave her life in the struggle of opposition, where Cuba, the tiny blockaded Caribbean island, more than any other outside nation, helped shape a positive destiny for Southern Africa in an international action unique for its courage and sacrifice. Portugal had been the colonial masters of Angola for some time, that huge, rich, and beautiful territory where they had prospered for 5 centuries, as Nobel laureate Gabriel Garcia Marquez notes. It's easy to forget that the Iberian Peninsula was ruled by fascists until the 1970s. The peaceful Carnation Revolution of 25 April 1974 removed the Estado Novo, the new state, in Portugal, the longest fascist reign in Western Europe. Che Guevara, during his tour of revolutionary Africa in the 1960s, made friends with Agostinho Neto and Lucia Lora, leaders of the popular movement for the liberation of Angola, uniting Angola and Cuba in friendship. Given their shared histories under Western colonialism, both countries allied with the USSR. After the bloodless defeat of the fascists, Portuguese colonial forces left Angola on 11 November 1975. The MPLA held the capital of Luanda and declared independence as the People's Republic of Angola. Cuba began its transcontinental action on a Britannia turboprop filled with volunteers. Cuba had to kit out the plane with extra fuel tanks because the USA denied refueling in Barbados. U.S. satellites kept track of Cuban movements by photographing baseball diamonds, springing up across Angola. Enemies of the MPLA were rushing towards Luanda.
Angola had 2 other rival anti-colonial movements. Holden Roberto's FNLA was based in the north of the country and received arms and training from the U.S. mainly via Mobutu in Zaire. Jonas Savimbi's UNITA was based in the south, and they too got American support, which was mainly channeled through apartheid South Africa.
CIA operative Holden Roberto, a cocktail party cowboy, also supported by Mobutu in Zaire, led his National Front for the Liberation of Angola from the north. His undisciplined FNLA broke and ran at first contact with MPLA and Cuban forces. The real threat, however, was the regional power, South Africa. The USA assumed they would impose the proper solution in Angola. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. They had help from a local, Jonas Savimbi, a monster whose lust for power brought appalling misery to his people.
Jonas Savimbi was, like much of Africa, willfully misunderstood by American politicians. If you know nothing about a place, you feel free to paint it with your own fantasies. And for many Americans, Africa was the land of Tarzan or Shaka Zulu or some other romantic, preposterous figure, and Jonas Savimbi fit in that category. For the right wing, he was a sort of Robin Hood. For the left wing, he was a diabolical monster.
Savimbi courted South Africa and the West with made-for-television charisma. His blood diamonds, support from racist South Africans and U.S. neocons, kept Angola in bloodshed for years to service his personal ambition. Sins his benefactors expiated by calling the MPLA communists. The pivotal moment came in the late 1980s at the largest battle in Africa since World War II, Cuito Cuanavale. Black Angolan and black Cuban soldiers repelled white South African divisions 5 times at the small village. Russian advisors called it Angola's Stalingrad. African nationalists called it South Africa's Waterloo. In defeat and humiliation, South Africa was forced to the negotiation table. Victory against the regional power changed the chemistry for the entire region. Nelson Mandela, on his first international trip after being freed, went to Cuba. We therefore end this average history and this first vignette of Cuba with a quote from him. The Cuban people hold a special place in the hearts of the people of Africa. The Cuban internationalists have made a contribution to African independence, freedom, and justice, unparalleled for its principled and selfless character. Cuito Cuanavale has been a turning point in the struggle to free the continent and our country from the scourge of apartheid. Suggested reading this week: The Cuban Drumbeat by Piero Gleijeses. Suggested documentary: The excellent Cuba, an African Odyssey by Jihan El-Tahri. Struggle with peace. Team Average.